speaking to a senior is very important because they give you like the most authentic experience you could ever ask for.
Right.
And it's not just about the exam, even like the way, like the lifestyle, where to get the groceries from, what's the locality you should see, like even just like leaving the academics, the whole idea of you living in Italy is important if you get to know it from a senior, because you get an idea of how things work and you will be prepared.
Hello everyone, welcome to another special episode of Future Doctor Podcast. I have another amazing medical student with me today, Kashif Khatri. Welcome.
Thank you so much for the podcast. It feels delighted to be a part of this because I was once an applicant who wanted information from others, and now it's like a whole circle that I'm the one giving to the future
Absolutely,
applicants.
and absolutely. That's our goal. So, to give audience an idea what the Future Doctor podcast is all about, if you're tuning in for the first time, so Future Doctor podcast is aimed at high school students and their parents who are planning to send their children to medical schools in the future and preparing and planning for it. So through this podcast, we want to give them practical advice as to how they should plan about everything and how to succeed at medical school. So Kashif, looking forward to speaking with you,
Yes.
learn from your experience.
Yes, hopefully I can give you some insight.
So Kashif, if you could tell me about your schooling, your childhood, where did you grow up, what curriculum school you went to?
So I'm basically a UAE kid. I'm born and brought up here. I did my schooling in DPS Sharjah.
DPS, it's
Yes.
a CBSE school.
CBSE curriculum, and I had taken science as my subjects, excluding math, because I was kind of sure that I would validate medicine as my career.
Okay, I'll come to that. I want to know.
No worries.
Yeah.
Okay, so why I chose medicine and what made me think was my mother works as a doctor, so that becomes like a boost for me that I'm going to have support if I choose this career. And whereas for the school subjects, I had a very simple approach. If I like the subject, I'm going to go towards it. So I started liking biology more, and the other sciences were obviously an option, but that was something I liked to, understand more in depth. So that was automatically a thing for me that if I'm doing a career, it's going to be around this subject. And by 10th, I understood that it has to be medicine, since I had done, like seeing videos on how doctors work, the whole functioning of the hospitals. And yeah, I chose the subjects and went for medicine.
So your mom is a doctor.
Yes.
So that helped you a lot.
That helped me a lot.
To get the exposure.
Absolutely.
What would you tell someone who doesn't come from a doctor's family and they want to find out if medicine is their cup of tea or not? What they should do in their grade 10, 11, 12?
See, firstly, I think you need to research. Like, if you can spend as much time as you want, like, don't rush it up. Take your time, research. There are so many videos available, especially after COVID, that how doctors work, and you have so many websites. And firstly, if you like the subject, that if you don't cross that, then it's on you how you take the subject. If you like it, then you can go on different levels.
Which subjects I have to? Like in grade 10, I'm studying almost everything.
Yeah,
right?
so I think it should be around biology mostly. Biology is what you need for being a doctor, especially the human body syllabus. And so maybe somewhat chemistry, but if biology is the main thing. If you like that, then you have a chance of being...
How about chemistry and physics?
Physics, I'd say not so much. If you don't like it, it doesn't really affect you. It's going to be very minimal. Chemistry to some point, like the whole organic chemistry, biomolecules, that has a role, like because you have different cycles in the human body which use that concept. So if it's these two subjects, then you definitely can have a
So
scope
bio
in
and
being a
chem.
doctor. Bio and chem mostly, but
A
majorly
lot
bio.
of med students, aspirants,
Yes.
they are scared of maths, or maybe they don't have that natural inclination towards maths. You will get rarely get this combination, students liking bio and chem as well as maths.
Yes.
So how relevant or important is math? Like even like some portion of maths is required in med school curriculum.
Zero. In my med school, zero. Like maybe for the entrance exam, we need to know like the high school level, but apart from that, if you want to study anything in medicine, there's like zero application of maths.
Okay.
And whatever is needed will be taught, but it will be the most simple application. That's it.
How did you and your family go about the destination and university planning? Just take me back 4-5 years ago when maybe you were sitting with your family across the dinner table discussing, okay, mom, dad, like where should I go for studies? Tell me, how did that planning go about?
Okay, so I started looking for universities in Europe, considering Europe, and uh, Georgia, Czech Republic, Hungary, like these countries. And I had started looking through the applications, and I had known that this had an entrance exam for all of them. I started seeing what's there. I applied to a few of them actually, and the one thing which I wanted to go in Europe was the whole degree thing, right? So the degree they have is going to be validated across all the European nations, and even has some advantage in the UK as well. So the degree being one thing, the EU degree, and one more thing I'd like to say is that when we study medicine or any course, coming back also from vacations is like a thing, right? So how far you live from your family. So that also was a factor which I considered instead of going to like US or like Australia. Europe was one which was like feasible because it's not too far as
Right.
well, and you can get to see your family in vacation as well.
Right. So why you didn't consider, say, the US, Canada, UK, or Australia? I mean, they're also great destinations for medicine. Was that part of your consideration, or you eliminated those options based on certain research?
I feel like for US, I eliminated the option because they had like 4 years of pre-med, which you had to do before medicine, so it becomes a very long course. I feel for these countries, I would rather take them as a place where I would go and do my training or specialization rather than doing my undergraduation.
Okay, so US and Canada had a longer duration.
They had a longer
route.
duration.
Okay,
as well.
how about the UK? UK has a, like, say, roughly
UK, I
5
feel
years medical
compared
school.
to Europe Europe is a more of an economical option than
Economical.
the UK compared to the fees and the living.
Hmm.
So that became a factor of why I removed UK and went for Europe instead.
Okay, can you give us a comparison since you're already now in the 4th year?
Yes.
Can you give audience an idea about the UK approximate fees when you were applying? What was the tuition fees like, and what's in Europe?
I think when I was applying for the UK, fees were easily like, if there is a university in Europe costing around 15,000 euros.
Okay, per year?
Per year, of course.
Okay.
And the UK would be around, let's say, double.
Yeah, 30,
Or
40, 50.
30,
like,
40, 50, even more than double, and then including the living costs, which are way higher in that place, depending on the place you
Right.
live.
So you chose Europe because of convenience, travel, shorter
Yes,
distance,
and
and
the
then
degree.
also cost
Yes.
and the
cost, degree value as
recognition
well. Yes.
as well.
Yes.
Okay, so you studying in Italy now at Università Cattolica. What were the other destinations you were thinking about? Number one. Number two, what was the application and admission requirement, and how did
Okay.
you navigate all that?
Okay. So I applied to Czech Republic, Hungary,
Hmm.
and Italy. These three were the countries I'd applied for. They all had the same thing, entrance exam. And Czech and Hungary had like some interview process, but
Okay.
Cattolica had just the entrance exam with some other questions also apart from the sciences we had to study. And why I chose Italy is because it's Italy. Like,
Right.
you know, that itself is a factor to bring you in the place. And my university where I study in has the Gemelli Hospital, which is like the top most hospital in the Europe.
Okay.
So that becomes a factor for me of why I went inside Italy.
Okay. What was the application process like? Can you talk a bit about the entrance exam
Yes.
for Cattolica, and how
Okay.
did you tackle it?
Okay, so I'll give you a brief of how the entrance exam works. You have like a comprehension section where they give you like a paragraph, and based on that you answer questions which is in the paragraph. Then you have logic and problem solving. For example, they give you like a pattern, and then you have to see the pattern and make the correct option, which is in an MCQ format. Then you have like simple math, like very simple math, high school level, and then comes your whole science, like
Right.
whatever you study, your physics, chem, biology. So this was like how it broke down.
Okay.
And then you have a special section, since it's a Catholic university, a section of theology, which is very,
okay.
it's not like too brief, but it's like the value-based questions, the most
Got it.
basic understanding, which they will also provide once you apply.
Okay. So as a DPS student, as
Yeah.
a CBSE student,
Yeah.
you're not used to these kind of exams, right? Like
No.
you're focused on sciences and core subjects.
Yeah.
So how did you prepare for these examinations?
So these exams, the university provides like a sample questions. Like I'm not sure if they do it right now, but when I applied, they had a sample question. So I
Right.
went through them, got an understanding of how they would work, and I had this in mind that if I know my biochem physics properly, even if I don't do it that well, I would have a chance of still getting in.
Right.
So that was like my mentality, but I'm in now.
Right.
Yes.
So that time when you were engaged with Ganberry, I
Yes.
remember speaking to your mom,
Yes.
family, with you.
Mm-hmm.
We were contemplating about several options, and we had engaged you with the super mentors of
Yes.
Gyanberry who are studying at Cattolica.
Yes.
Right, and now you are a
I
super
am
mentor.
one. It's a whole circle, right?
Right, it's a whole circle. So tell me how important it is to speak to a senior student at the university while you're preparing for the exam, number one, and while you're choosing your university.
Okay. So I think speaking to a senior is very important because they give you like the most authentic experience, you could ever ask for.
Right.
And it's not just about the exam, even like the way, like the lifestyle,
Hmm.
suppose like where to get the groceries from, what's the locality you should see, like
Hmm.
even just like leaving the academics, the whole idea of you living in Italy is important if you get to know it from a senior because you get an idea of how things work and you will be prepared before you
Right.
come to Italy, which is something I did
Hmm.
also as an applicant. I went to a super mentor. I asked the same questions which I will now give to others being in the platform. So
Right.
I feel
Right.
it's important.
That's amazing, and I think giving back to the students, like giving back to the society,
Exactly.
I think is the most fulfilling thing.
Exactly.
Right. I want to talk a bit about imposter syndrome. A lot of
Okay.
students, when they are in high school, right? You come from a doctor's family, so you have probably that self-confidence, or probably it's in your DNA that okay,
I feel
like okay, I can do this. A lot of students, they feel that okay, even if I'm good in studies, can I make it? Can I do it? So they have a lot of self-doubt while
Okay.
going for something ambitious.
Okay.
Did you have those moments when you joined the first year of the university? Oh my God, is this my cup of tea? Can I do this?
I wouldn't say I had a strong feeling, but
Hmm.
I remember in February I gave my first semester exams, my first exam session.
Hmm.
I failed one exam.
Oh.
Yeah, in my first semester. So I didn't get strong feelings, but I had this like, if is this going to continue throughout, or will I pass this again, or am I going to have more issues? But I feel like that happens when you take everything at once. Like if you de-stress yourself, if you accept the fact that this whole journey is going to be slow, it's going to have its own problems, it won't be in a rush. So if you don't take everything at once and you just relax, take things one by one, I think automatically you accommodate to the whole environment which you are in and you get used to it. So that was something I did initially, was try to take everything at once, like worry about so many things, how am I going to finish it. But if you ease yourself, things become easy.
Okay. So what did you do? You failed one subject.
Yes.
Probably, like you felt
Yes.
panic. Okay,
Yeah.
what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Because it's like a snowball effect.
Exactly.
So how did you overcome that?
I think first 2 days I was like sad, like what has happened. Then I realized that if there's a reason why people give more attempts for the exam. So I was like, if this is the exam I failed, I'm going to make sure next attempt I'm going to come back better than ever. Just don't ease myself, just restart again. And then eventually this happened, and now I'm doing pretty well in my exams as well, instead of stressing out on every single thing. But that doesn't mean you don't study. You obviously study, but you just calm yourself first, focus on your health as well, and then you can go with the studies.
Right, that's a fantastic advice, and I'm glad you overcame that.
Yes, I'm glad as well.
Can you talk about the clinical experience at the university, starting with, do you use cadavers or is it simulation based? What are the clinical hospitals attached to the university?
Okay, so cadavers is not really a thing in Italy because of the whole Vatican rule. So we are limited to using simulation simulators.
This is across Italy, yeah?
For Rome, for Milan, I'm not sure, but for Rome, is it for sure you won't have cadavers. So we had simulations, and then we get shadowing opportunities. What I did was, since I've not had much of clinical experience because I'll be entering 4th year now. So what I did before this was I met we got to see patients with communicable diseases, for example. Tuberculosis was one case, and I got an opportunity to shadow an emergency doctor. So the whole ER, the ICU, everything was what I saw. And they had this activity in the first year where you had to practice CPR on a dummy. So we had in groups, 4 or 5 of you make a team, and then you try to revive the patient simulator.
Right.
And then there was one case where we had an entire simulated ICU where the patient and everything, whatever you do, it would react. So that was also something we did as a practical thing in clinics.
Right.
So
Did you have any funny experience in the clinic?
I think it was just people were laughing.
Right.
They were all like running around the table, and the professor is like telling what to do.
Yeah,
And
it's
then,
like a simulation, right?
yeah, it's
And
like
you
a
also have to
simulation.
react like
Exactly.
emergency.
Yeah. So it's like everyone was just goofing around, but
Right.
that added to the experience. Like you only learn when you like see stuff like this.
Right.
So future, if they have anything else, it's gonna be even better
Hmm.
for the upcoming 3 years.
Are you living in the dorms or in the university?
I am
like
living in the dorms right now.
in dorms, yeah, university provided dorms, yeah.
Yes, so they have a dorm in the campus,
Hmm.
and they have like 3 or 4 external like buildings which are also a dorm,
Hmm.
but they are like you need to either walk or use public transport to reach those places.
How long does it take between, say,
For
the
me,
faculty and the dorm?
okay, so I live in the furthest one.
Okay.
So if it's on peak traffic,
Is it a better one? That's why.
yeah, it is better one. Like
There
I'm
you go.
comfortable with the rooms and everything, but
Huh.
the travel was an issue at first
Hmm.
because I had to take a bus which took around 1 hour to reach the university because of peak traffic.
Hmm.
Otherwise, it's a 20-minute bus ride.
Okay.
So that itself was an issue first. So I had to wake up like an hour early and then go to uni.
Hmm.
But eventually, I got used to it, and I'm happy with the place. So I'll take the compromise of the
Right.
transport.
Describe me the dorm. What all facilities are there? Do you
Okay.
cook there? What all
Okay.
happens in the dorm?
Okay, so the dorm I live in has a single room.
What's the name of the dorm, by the way?
San Giuseppe Morello.
Okay.
I
I'll
don't know
not
if you
repeat
understood.
that. Okay.
Yeah, so there is a your own bedroom
Hmm.
with a private bathroom.
Hmm.
You have like a common space where there's a projector and you could watch things with your friends.
Right.
You have a kitchen. You have like 5 fridges in my dorm, and you
Hmm.
share that among.
Kitchen for the floor or just for like in
Just,
your
no, for the entire housing.
entire housing?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
but it's huge. Like you have like 5-6 fridges in the kitchen,
Nice.
and that's to be shared with everyone.
Yeah, fair enough, I think.
Yes. And
Mm.
for cooking, yes,
Mm.
I cook. So initially I had zero skills.
Mm.
Sometimes my mom used to cook me something, and like so I can have good food and
Right.
stuff.
Hmm.
But then I know that this is not going to last for like 6 years, right?
Right.
So around like the start of second year or the end of first year, the break in between, I actually took up cooking seriously,
Wow. Okay,
and I
that's
needed
impressive.
it to learn. Yes.
What's the worst dish and the most best dish you cooked?
Worst dish is actually
Rated by your roommates, not by you.
Okay, so it's not about the worst dish. It was more like I was more of a messy cooker at first because I
okay.
never handled all of
Hmm.
cooking complex dishes at once.
Hmm.
So I remember once when I was in the dorm, I had cooked rice. And
cooked rice, okay.
yeah, and then I don't know what happened to me. I forgot to clean the rice stains and stuff.
Hmm.
It slipped my mind,
Hmm.
and then I was called out for that. And then I
Who
see
called you
that-
out? Like who called out? Like
No, like I mean, whoever sees in the kitchen, right?
okay, okay.
Yeah, so I was like, they told me like, clean this. I'm like, damn, this is like what I have to experience. The
Right.
whole shared life, and you have to take care of your stuff. This was in the very starting, and after that, I was automatically accommodated to the setting. And the best dish I cooked was butter chicken.
Butter chicken.
Yes,
Okay.
that was like I mostly cook Indian food because that's something I can cook in bulk
Hmm.
and also store it. But also sometimes I make like sandwiches, like easy sandwiches or even burgers. That's a quick fix.
Nice. That's a great inspiration from no cooking to butter chicken.
Yes,
Amazing.
it took me 3 years.
So I'll self-invite myself when I'm in Rome next time. Fantastic. That's great, Kashif.
Yeah.
Okay, in terms of the cost of living,
Okay.
this is the question I get asked
Mhm.
a lot from the parents.
Mhm.
How much do you spend practically? Tuition fees, you explain, ballpark
Okay.
figure.
Okay.
But maybe you can tell the tuition fees also of Catholica,
Okay.
what you are paying,
Okay.
because the fees, of course, changes every year. What
Yes.
you are paying every year,
Yes.
and breakdown of your major expenses monthly in
Okay.
euro or dollar, if you
Okay.
can explain.
So my tuition fees, what I pay in the university is 16,000 euros.
16,
15,800, 16,000.
Got it.
That's the
Okay.
approximate.
Hmm.
My living fees, like the
Hmm.
dorms I live in, they cost around 7,000 a year.
Hmm.
But if you live in private apartments, they would be a bit lesser. But I feel like the facilities would. I prefer the facilities in the dorm, so I don't mind the extra payment.
Right. Hmm.
But it's on to you how you want to take the accommodation
Okay.
thing. Then whereas for my expenses like groceries, hanging out,
Hmm.
I say like 150 to 200 euros you can comfortably spend.
150 to 200.
Comfortably per month. You can
Okay.
have a
Okay.
comfort. You can go out as much. You can eat out as well.
Okay.
You can get good groceries.
Right.
No
So total
compromise.
payout is how much monthly?
So since I pay my thing in yearly, my rent,
Okay.
so I don't have a monthly basis. So it's
Okay.
like
So except the dorm, how much you spend monthly?
150 to 200.
That's it.
That's it.
That's pretty
Yeah,
cheap.
that is pretty cheap. I mean, you need to like cook also. It's not like you
Yeah.
can just go
Cheap
out.
in the sense compared to other,
Comparatively to
developed
other
countries. Yeah.
countries. Exactly why I chose Europe over UK, because I knew like it's not going to be in this
Mm.
budget. So
Okay.
that becomes a automatic
Interesting.
thing coming to
Okay.
the previous.
Now let's talk about some serious things. Studies, right? So you are in the fourth year.
Yes.
Obviously, medicine is one of the toughest subjects, right?
Yes.
So what tips you would give to future students? How they should prepare for the exams, for the
Okay.
vivas, oral
Okay.
exams, the lab,
Mhm.
laboratory works.
Mhm.
Give some tips as to that, so that they are set up for success.
Okay, first of all, I would like to say that there is no one material like school. Like you have a textbook,
Hmm.
you study from that, and you pass. That's
Hmm.
not the way.
Hmm.
You have many different sources.
Hmm.
Obviously, they are textbooks, but then they are like, I don't think 1,000, 2,000 pages. I don't think that's humanly possible to like mug them all.
Right.
So you have various sources like YouTube. You have so many tutors online.
Hmm.
Your own professors could even help you if you like arrange appointments. That's at least what my university has. Arrange appointments and speak to the professors
That's amazing.
for like personal doubts.
Hmm.
And obviously you can study with your friends, you can share notes, you can even find published notes online based on the topic. And try to be more consistent with your studies.
Hmm.
Don't leave it all for last minute. That's obviously not like, you won't leave everything for the last minute, right?
Right.
Otherwise you're going to panic. So stay as much consistent as you want. What I personally do is, when initially in the initial days when my lectures used to get over, if I had time, if it was not a long lecture, I used to sit and try to just see what I went through the same day.
Right.
And if there is no time, I try to keep it for the weekend, so I can cover up what I did for the entire week.
Right.
And
So you have to study what learned in the class. You have
Yes.
to reflect upon it.
Yeah,
and,
I feel
and
you
cover
should.
it in the same week.
Yes. If not, if it's okay if you don't do it all, but at least you'll have the habit of being consistent, and that's what matters more than the content you cover.
Hmm.
Because if you leave all that and you come to the exams, like which is even like a month away,
Hmm.
I don't think that'll be something
Hmm.
productive on you, because you will also feel unnecessary stress. You will not take care of yourself.
Hmm.
So if you have this consistent habit, even if you don't do much, you'll at least have the idea of what to expect and how do you finish it, rather than going all
Right.
blank in the end.
Can you explain the exam pattern? Like, is it all written or oral, or it's a mix of things?
Okay.
This is one. Second, how many times you can reattempt one subject if you
Okay.
fail once or
Okay.
twice?
Okay, so the exam system is mostly multiple choice questions,
Hmm.
because the whole system of the university is to prepare you for the future exams like USMLE, UKMLE,
Okay.
because all these exams are also in the multiple choice format.
Hmm.
At least for step 1 USMLE, I know it's an MCQ format.
Right.
So they have like a similar pattern. So that's one good thing also. So it prepares you for the future exams for
Got it.
licensing.
Got it. Okay.
You have MCQ exams, and then for subjects like histology, you have like a hands-on examination
Hmm.
where you see the microscope, you see the specimen, and you are supposed to describe what you see in that.
Hmm.
And you have, if you pass the written,
Hmm.
you go to the orals.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you get a final score based on how you perform.
Hmm.
And for the attempts, you can give it as much as you want.
Okay.
Like there is no limit.
Hmm.
But the only downside is if you don't pass one exam, you can't give the next. So it's like a level.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because maybe the content is dependent.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, it's not a hack, right? Like you don't give this exam and you
Right.
just give the others. So that's not possible.
Right. Right.
So you need to
Hmm.
pass one exam to proceed to the next.
Got it. Got
Yes.
it.
And you're supposed to finish like a year. Like if suppose I am in second year
Hmm.
and I don't finish my first year exams, so
Hmm.
I can't give the second year exams. So
Right.
that's just like a backlog.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
And which is the most toughest subject? Like, you have those demons in your dreams, like, oh my god, now I have to face this subject.
Okay. So compared to the previous students,
Hmm.
like whoever I know, people usually find anatomy hard. That's something I
Correct.
don't find hard.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. So I'll tell you the thing, right? For anatomy, I always had this mindset that it's gonna be hard. Like
Hmm.
I keep hearing from people like it's gonna
Hmm.
like shake you. You're gonna fail the exam. So I already had this mental stage that what, I know anatomy is gonna be hard.
Right.
So I'm not gonna have any expectations of me doing it very well. And I
Hmm.
think that's what pushed me to understand the subject nicely.
Hmm.
And I feel like I have a personal liking towards anatomy as well. That's why I'm more interested in that.
Hmm.
So for me, it's histology, which is like the subject which gives it's like
Right.
a demon subject for me,
Right.
because they have like very specific things to remember, like the size of this cell in micrometer, nanometer. Like they have very specific things to remember,
Right.
and that I feel it's something difficult for me.
Are you able to relate subjects with the core subjects of school, like medical school? For example,
Mhm.
like if you're really good in biology, you
Mhm.
will do good in XYZ subjects in med school. If you're really good in chemistry, you might do well in these. Do you have any kind of correlation like this, or you've observed from other students?
For biology, definitely, I myself have seen that, because
Hmm.
for anatomy or physiology, right, you get like a brief overview in high school. What's the process behind it, or for example, what enzymes are used and what's there. So when I studied that thing in medicine, I already had a brief overview. So that became like a boosting factor for me, because since I know the basics, I don't have to sit through it again.
Right.
And that became like an aid for me to finish up the
Right.
contents faster and understand the lectures better. For chemistry, I feel it's more of the pathways, because you have so many cycles in the body. So in my curriculum, CBSE curriculum, they taught us like a brief idea of this, which again helped me in the first year syllabus.
Right. So you need to be really good at both biology and chemistry. It's not just like you're doing medicine; it has to be biology, right? It has to be.
I mean, it's an interest as well. If you're not good at it in school, you can obviously improve. It's not like if you're not good at school, you can't ever do it. You obviously, the interest is what you need. If you have the intention of being a doctor, you can obviously find ways to make yourself better at it. Even like I said, you have so many materials, videos, published notes. The internet is accessible for everyone.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, does the exam pattern change at the clinical stages, like from fourth year onwards? Or how are you assessed during the clinicals? I know you're just getting started,
Yeah.
but from what you know from your seniors.
I think from what I know from my seniors is they have like, I think it's going to be more on orals as well, but I'm not entirely sure on this, but I know for a fact they have like the whole MCQ format again, because again, future exams will be helpful in this format. So that the written part is going to be the same. Orals may or may not be, depending on what subject you give the exam for. So the pattern is pretty much the uniform throughout the 6 years.
Got it.
Yeah.
How many hours you study every day?
Okay, so
not during the exam days, like general lecture days.
Okay, so I'll tell you my lecture how it goes, right? So I can have lectures being 2 hours to 10 hours. It's like very flexible. So my day starts at 8:30. It could either end at 10:30 or before lunch. It could start like at 10:30 and go all the way till 6:30. So if I know it's like a long day, I usually don't do anything, because it's a tiring day. I just have an idea of what I do, like what's covered in class, and then maybe I push it for the weekend. But I'd say if I have a normal lecture pace, like a normal lecture time, I'll give it around, let's say, 2 or 3 hours.
2 or 3 hours.
2 or 3 hours. Yeah, but not necessarily to cram everything, but just sit and just see what's there. But it will obviously go less also, and then eventually push it for the weekend.
Right.
And in exams, you don't know. It's like, that's 12 hours.
12 hours. Like, give exam, come back and study.
Exam is just like I'm locked in my room.
Okay.
I go down, eat food, come back.
Fair enough. I mean, you've chosen medicine.
Yeah.
So you called for it.
I called for it.
And as you said, you enjoy and you're okay with it.
Yeah, I enjoy the process. It's fine. As long as you enjoy the process, it's going to be fine. Like, this is happening.
Fantastic.
Yes.
You study 12 hours, you study 2-3 hours every day. What do you guys do to unwind? Like, what do you do, what your colleagues or your friends do?
Okay, so like I said, we live in a dorm, right? And most of the people in the dorm are also from India. So we have like a common liking for cricket.
Is it?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
So recently only, there was the T20 World Cup, and it was after exams. So we finished our exams, we watched the finals, we won the World Cup as well.
Yes.
So that was the best way to unwind. And even for like football matches, we all stream. I'm not a huge fan of football, but we all stream matches.
Football is big in Italy. Oh my,
definitely,
crazy.
Definitely, the clubs go crazy. So we all stream football matches as well. We watch sports, and then we hang out to many places in Italy. Like Rome has a lot of good places to discover. Like not just pizzas, but like even other cuisines as well. You can find places to go. So yes, spending time outside is also not a problem. Like the weekends are a good way of winding down yourself from studying.
And what are sports facilities you have around the university or the dorm?
The university has basketball. They have a basketball court, and they have like a football cup which is played among the different years of the university, and that's like the most hyped event.
Right.
And everyone from the uni comes and sees. Even the professors are there as the audience to see the finals. So yeah, it's a very big event, and it happens around October, November.
And
So-
did you guys give proposal for the cricket pitch at least, like the practice pitch? No.
I don't think they know what cricket is.
I mean, if the student population is
Yeah, we
increasing,
need more
Indian
students.
student
We need more
population, then
Indian students to take over.
hopefully.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. In terms of the future plans,
Mhm.
what do you plan to do after graduating from
Okay.
Cattolica?
So I don't have like a firm plan yet. I'm
Mm.
keeping all my options open.
Mm.
So what I'm focusing on right now is UK and rest of Europe and even Ireland.
Hmm.
But I'm not eliminating options like US or the far countries like
Hmm.
Australia, New Zealand, and
Hmm.
mainly these countries. I'm not closing them.
Hmm.
I'm keeping them as an option. But I'm
Right.
also keen mainly towards the whole EU degree advantage.
Hmm.
That's why I chose Italy, right? So I can do the language exam for the other EU countries and
Right.
maybe practice there or give the UK MLE if it's a thing,
Right.
because it's in a transition phase, right? So
Correct,
maybe
yeah.
I might not give the UK MLE, maybe I'll give it, but
Right.
anyways I'm prepared for that.
Hmm.
So yeah, I have a very open-minded for my plans right now. because
Okay,
I
so
have
you're
like
still
3 years.
figuring out
Yes.
whether EU or UK.
Yeah, but
Any plans to
70%.
come back to UAE or maybe join your family business or?
I mean, if that's an option, why not? I mean, that really depends on how the journey is. But
Hmm.
practicing in UAE, it's something I would consider as an option.
Hmm.
Like even anywhere in the GCC or if
Hmm.
in UK itself I get a chance.
Hmm.
So it's a very broad thing to think about. Just
Hmm.
see where it takes. But that's why I'm saying I'm not eliminating any option.
Right. How easy or difficult was the Italian language for you?
I feel it's not as difficult as people think because Italian and English are very similar. Like the vocabulary is very similar. Like how French is also similar to English in some ways.
Hmm.
Italian is even more similar. So
Okay.
you have like very, let's say, if I can teach you some Italian.
Yes, please teach me
Yes.
2 words. At least teach me hello.
Yeah. Yeah.
and thank
so,
you.
Yeah. So it's very easy. So for hello will be ciao.
Ciao. Yeah.
That's obvious.
Yes.
And thank you will be grazie.
Grazie.
Yeah, and you have so many other similar words. Like for coffee, for example, in
Mhm.
English it's coffee, Italian it's cafe.
Cafe.
Similar, right?
Right.
For
right.
for milk, latte. So
Hmm.
it's the vocabulary is very similar, and then you have apps like Duolingo. That's what I personally did as well.
Hmm.
I practiced in Duolingo during the 2-month vacation time.
Before
I
you
had.
flew?
Yeah, before I flew, like between.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
Hmm.
so I had to pick up something. I was bored as well,
Hmm.
so I decided to learn
Right.
very basic.
But the university also teaches you,
Oh,
right,
for
to
sure.
prepare
They
for the
teach.
clinicals.
Yes.
Hmm.
We have Italian for 2 years, first year and third year.
Hmm.
Second year is mostly on the other subjects, but first
Right.
and third year is when you do Italian.
Right.
And also you can find Duolingo was there, videos again on YouTube. Like it's very accessible. Even on
Right.
Instagram you'll find many. Of
So
these
in the
places.
university, for how many semesters or years you study Italian language? Until what level you need to accomplish?
I think you need to accomplish to a point where you can hold a basic conversation.
Hmm.
Doesn't matter how the grammar is, but if you can hold a basic conversation, you can understand what the
Hmm.
other people are saying.
Hmm.
And plus, the thing is, in rotations, you will automatically know what terminologies they use in Italian,
Right.
which is not too far from English.
Do you also need to learn to write Italian?
Just for the exam.
Just for the exam.
Yeah, but it's English, like it's the
Got
same
it.
letters, so it's
Got
not really a problem if you write in
Mm.
Italian. Even reading it is not a problem.
Mm.
So that's why I'm saying Italian is not as hard compared to the other European languages.
But isn't that a great skill? If you don't learn a new language at this age,
Yes.
then when will you learn? right?
Exactly. So
'Cause
right
the
now it's
older you
Italian.
get, difficult difficult
Exactly.
it becomes for you
Exactly.
to acquire.
So yes. So whatever the country you go to, try to like do the language from Duolingo,
Mm.
get a basic idea of it, and the uni will automatically teach you when you enroll for
Fantastic.
this course.
And how is the classroom environment? Like, how are Italian professors?
Okay.
Like, see, in the US, classroom environment is
Mhm.
different. In India, it's different.
Mhm.
Maybe in the UAE, it's different.
Mhm.
Can you describe the
Okay.
Italian professors?
So the Italian professors, I'd say, are. It really depends on who you get because you have some people who are very, very engrossed in their subject. Like
Hmm.
they will actually make sure you like the subject, and then you have some
Nice.
people who, like this was personally for me. Like the first year,
Hmm.
my first class, he told me that you will fail the exam, like to everyone.
Oh my god, okay.
But
See,
luckily, I knew that he was someone who is on like this track, but he teaches very well. So
he indirectly was pushing you to
he
do
was
better.
he pushes us by saying all
Challenge,
this
yeah.
exactly. But
Mm.
his teaching was very nice. He was the one who taught me biochemistry,
Mm.
and that's also a reason why I listen to him, because that's the whole thing of him pushing that you will fail or the patient is going to die if you don't know this.
Right.
So yeah, that was like a fun thing and also something he really taught us about
Nice.
the subject.
You know, the Italian healthcare system is very popular worldwide.
Mhm.
What are the unique things you saw there in terms of technology or infrastructure
Mhm.
or something unique about them in terms of how they manage their healthcare? If you have any insights about that.
I mean, as of now, I have not really gotten into the whole idea of how the healthcare
Clinical
system
stuff.
works. 3 years maybe down the line, if I'm invited again, I can share.
Sure, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, for now it's just the whole basic, like how the emergency works, like how every clinic works. That's what we got to see this time. But the infrastructure is, I feel it's very good. It's like very systematic. It's a huge hospital, so you might get lost, but everything is like labeled and stuff. So eventually, like navigating through the hospital also is something very like, I feel it's a
Right.
good experience.
And if you fall sick, I hope you don't, but in general, if you get fever,
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
do you get treated within the university or within the dorm itself by the 6th-year students? What happens with med students when they fall sick?
You have emergency cases are free under the healthcare system. So
Hmm.
if I fall sick or I need the ambulance,
Hmm.
so the emergency cases are taken as a free treatment.
Right.
And even the ambulance thing, if it's something severe, they take you to any hospital. It could be the one near my university or it could be anywhere else in Rome. So the treatment is pretty much the same.
Right.
So that's the one thing I noticed is that
Right.
emergency
And
treatments are
of course, you
done
can
after.
access the university hospitals,
Oh,
right?
definitely,
What they are
definitely.
attached.
Yes.
You get treated there as well.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
And it's part of your like the residence permit.
Yeah,
that you
you
have.
need to. They also do like an internal healthcare checkup
Hmm.
for you before you do the clinicals.
Hmm.
So over there also they make sure that everything of you is fine. If you have any
Right.
problems, they'll look into it.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
before you enter clinicals, they have this some sort of a mandatory checkup, and you get it checked up every year or 2 years.
One of the things, a lot of international students ignore or probably don't take it seriously because
Mhm.
they're so busy with their academic life. They have a lot of other things
Mhm.
to take care. Is visa,
Mhm.
visa renewals, taking care of this
Mhm.
immigration and
Mhm.
paperwork.
Mhm.
Can you take me through that?
Okay.
When do you need to renew your visa? Is it annual?
Okay.
Or how does that work?
Okay, so for Italy, I can say for any Europe country as well, the bureaucratic work is a lot. You have a lot of paperwork, a lot of submitting this, that.
Hmm.
So in my case, when I landed in Italy the first time ever,
Hmm.
within 7 days I had to apply for my residence permit,
Right.
and you have the list of documents to submit, the copies, whatnot. You give that, and then you get an appointment date, which you have to go to the immigration police station.
Hmm.
Over there, they do your biometrics and everything, and
Hmm.
you get your permesso.
Hmm.
The permit is called the permesso. And the thing is, the appointment, the gap between when you submit to the post office with the initial documents and the appointment is around 3 to 11 months of waiting. So what I would suggest is that if anyone is coming to Italy and has this whole issue of the permit renewal, try to renew it 2 months before your expiry date.
2 months before.
Yeah,
the
you apply
expiry.
for the documents. 2 months
Okay.
or even more, because when I have applied for the renewal, right? I applied in November,
Hmm.
and my appointment date is in October this year. So like
Wow.
11 months.
So much waiting.
Yeah, but they also give you this temporary slip where you can fly back to your country.
Okay.
So that's
fair
the
enough.
thing. They don't keep you in the country. You
So they
show
take
the
care
slip.
of you.
They take care of you. You just can't travel anywhere within the Europe.
Got it.
Yeah, it's either Italy to somewhere outside Europe. Even if it's a
Okay.
connecting flight, it's fine, but
Got
not
it.
within Europe.
How is the social life for a student, for an international student in Rome?
Okay, so one thing I'd say is if you live in the dorms, and since I also applied through Gyanberry, I got to know a bit more people beforehand, and I made my friend group within that and the dorm circle I was in.
Fantastic.
So I'll say I'm lucky to have my social circle found at a very early phase rather than waiting for
Right.
months and years to find my group. So that was established, and since we are dorms, we in the dorm group we do things together, like go out together. Like I said, we watch sports together, find different places together. So finding a friend group was not an issue for me. Obviously, like you'll find different varieties of people there, but since my dorm had Indians mostly, so I'm also surrounded by my own people.
Right.
So it gives them both mix of
Got it.
Indians and internationals, and it's nice to have the group
Right.
there in university.
So when you go out, are you going beyond Rome or are you going to other European countries? What do you guys do on the weekend?
Okay, so weekends normally we go to the city center. Sometimes we've gone out for shopping as well. Like there are malls, outlets.
Right.
And
Frozen
even if-
chicken maybe.
Yeah, so I've gone to outlets also when my family was here in Italy. So, and there are good places to discover to eat as well, and there are lots of clubs you can go with your friends. So it's not an issue, and you have public transport easily available. Like the buses at night will be a bit iffy, but if you have like the right apps for it, you could track when the bus comes and plan your trip accordingly. And you have metro systems like the
Is the transportation free for students, or how
I
is
use
it?
a pass. There's a yearly pass and a monthly pass. So if you buy the pass, you could use the local train, the metro, the bus. It's unlimited. How many
How
times
much
you
does
want.
that cost?
Like you have the yearly one. I pay is 250 euros, but I'm
Yearly.
sure yearly.
So roughly 20 euro per month. Then.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they have monthly, which is around 30 to 40. I'm not sure because I went for the yearly pass. So yeah, the yearly pass helps because I use a bus to university as well, right? I can't pay the tickets every single day. I need a yearly pass.
Right.
So even if I'm off for vacations, I don't come to Rome often during that time. It still is a big boost for me to use these facilities.
Now the last question.
Mm-hmm.
So anyone who is in high school
Mhm.
right now thinking to get into medical school, what would you like to tell them?
Do your research properly. Don't rush things up. Try to see what what universities offer for the same course. See the cost. See, like, you can see videos on how the hospitals work in general if you're interested in the whole medicine field. And lastly, like, just be prepared for how tough the course is, but at the same time accept that and just let yourself live the process. Like, don't be in a hurry that I have to pass in these 5 years and I have to pass all the exams. Just, like, ease it down. You know
Right.
you're gonna eventually make it through.
Right.
So
right.
just that's what I believe in. Just ease down on everything and
Right. Don't overwhelm yourself.
don't
be,
overwhelm
be
yourself.
prepared.
Yes.
Right,
Because
in
once
advance.
if you let yourself be calm, you'll automatically have a grip on how to deal with things.
Right.
It's something
right.
I've believed in ever since the whole first semester exam thing.
Fantastic.
Yes.
So Kashif is our super mentor already. He's been mentoring students of Gyanberry from many years, and a lot of students have benefited from his advice. So if you're thinking to get into medical school, or especially want to study in Italy, I think Kashif is a great mentor who will help you through and through the process, share his real life experience, and I'm sure you'll benefit from it.
Yes.
So Kashif, thank you. Grazie.
Grazie.
Ciao. Thank you so
Thank
much
you
for
so
for
much.
being here today.
Thank you so much. I had a great time.